grew up together. We were actually kids together. And I said, those stories about this and that and the other, half the people are no longer alive. Is it okay? And he's like, no.
Say whatever you want.
Well, I mean,
guys, we are live. We are live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Police Off the Cuff. My name is Mark DeMayo. I'm here with my co-host, my partner in all things law enforcement, the very handsome Bill Cannon. What's up, Bill?
Doing good, man. I pulled a blast from the past out of the woodwork, and you can introduce him, Mark, but I'll tell you after you introduce him, I'll tell everyone who he is.
After I introduce him, you're going to tell everybody.
I'm not telling who he is. You tell who he is.
All right. Our guest tonight is John Monahan. He's a retired NYPD captain. He's an author. He also owns a professional school. He's going to tell us what that's all about. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Good to be here.
How are you?
As I said before, I met John in 1990. We're two old fuckers, In the 2-6, we both he got promoted to sergeant 6 months before me. And then I got there, and the place looked like Dublin. We had John Monahan, John Egan, right? A couple of
John Egan, yeah. Didn't McManus follow us there, or he came
after? McManus. I was like, "What the hell? Am I in Dublin here? This is crazy."
The hole in the donut.
That's right. The hole in the donut. So
yeah,
I worked in the 2-6.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was in the squad.
Oh, nice. You got a lot of sleep.
5 years.
Hey, the 2-6 squad can be crazy sometimes.
Well, you've got Columbia University up there.
Yeah.
But they had good security detail there, right?
Oh, that was the best. They used to hand you cases that were pretty much complete. All you had to do was go get the bad guy.
Nice.
You had a picture, a couple of photos, all it was like a
when
pattern.
Were you there, Mark? What year were you there?
Oh man.
We had Pete Buccino as our CO, right, Billy?
That's right. He died.
Nice man.
He died, Pete Buccino.
Yeah, he died young. Yeah, that was a shame. He was a very nice man.
He was a nice man.
I was there 5 years before 2012. So 2007, I was there for 5 years from, I guess, 2002 to 2007.
Jeez, we are old, Billy, huh? I've been retired for a number of years.
I just had a birthday. I don't even want to tell you how old I am, man.
Oh, I can figure it out. 61, 62.
I'm actually 64. I came on when
64.
I came on when I was 28.
Oh, wow.
I was tending bar. I was mixing drinks. Cocktail waitresses 2 at a time. People couldn't get more.
You're like Duke Feeney, my first partner. We used to call him the oldest rookie. He was 28 when he came on.
Is that right?
I mean, everybody was 20, 21, or 22.
I know. Something. I felt if I would have came on when I was 20, I was way too immature at 20.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. I was immature at 22.
Yeah.
I came on at 25. I felt old, but
yeah. So listen, I just mentioned Duke Finney. I gotta do some shout outs here, guys. I got the Egg Squad. I got the English boys out in Brooklyn. I got to give shout outs to, the McManus crew. We mentioned McManus already.
Hey, we got to sell some coffee mugs. See this?
Yeah, what is this dipped in butter shit? I was just on the phone with Joe Kane, and he goes, "You ever hear of this? We got a group text with the Egg Squad. Let me tell you about the Egg Squad."
Dipped in butter is something we say that a guy on this job who's lived a charmed life, we say his balls have been dipped in butter.
Never heard it.
You never heard that expression?
Never heard it. He had a hook.
Famous topic.
He had a hook. Charmed life. I heard that. Yeah.
His balls are dipped in butter, so we put it on our cup, man.
I understand. I'm going to get one of these cups. Joe told me.
Depends how good you are tonight.
We just got these, and they went out to all our subscribers for our Patreon as a Christmas gift, and they've been very happy with them. We've got a lot of positive feedback, and I was a little nervous. I like the white cup. Bill prefers the black cups, but I was really worried about the mug because I was wondering if it was just could handle coffee or was it good for vodka. But apparently, it's holding the vodka just fine. So,
yeah.
And it's microwave safe.
Hey, that's big.
You ever throw a cup in there and you don't check see if it's microwave safe? And you grab the handle and you're like, ah!
So yeah, man. It's not only is it dipped in butter, it's dipped in vodka.
That's right. That's right, man.
So let me tell you about the Egg Squad then real quick. Duke Finney was my first radio call partner in the 5-2. His cousin, Tommy McTurnan. Did you know Tom McTurnan? He was in the 4-6 squad. Anyway, he was partners. You know John Mendocino, right?
The name
Mendo?
sounds familiar.
No, well, they were partners. And Joe Kane was in the squad. We were all together in the 8 squad. Remember the 9 squad chart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember it, but I remember it.
You know, it was still Billy, when we got to the 2-6, Steady Tours was just a pilot project still. And the 9 squad chart was still in place in the 2-6 when we got there. But yeah, so we were the 8 squad in 1985 through 88. And we still got together with the wives, we go on vacation, everything. It's great, man. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing that you
Oh, it is.
befriend somebody on the job and get to know their families and you go away together.
Yeah. You know what? We went through we all got engaged around the same time, started having kids around the same time. The wives all became friends, and it's just here we are all these years later, and we're still friends. You know, it's nice.
It's nice to have people to cover up for you too,
Well, we don't need covering up.
When
We
everybody
don't do anything. We don't do anything that needs covering up.
when everybody's looking for you. Where's John? Oh, yeah. He had the thing, and let me give him a call.
Every one of us is married over 30 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
we had Joe Kane on. You guys are like,
I know.
you and Joe Kane, man. You guys should be like Irish landowners now. You guys got big bucks.
He's probably my closest friend, honestly.
Where
I shouldn't even tell you this.
You see
But
how
I had a colonoscopy the other day, and Joe drove me home.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's good. That's a friend. That's a real
Did you
friend.
see how he avoided the thing about having big money? He didn't even answer.
Yeah, come on. What am I going to tell you?
Where
You
are
want
you?
to see the house? Let me show you the house. It's freaking amazing. Oh, shit. Oh, I knocked my water on.
Where are you?
I'm in Blauvelt.
What?
Yeah, I love it. Blauvelt. No one knows where it is, and I like it that way.
My brother used to live there.
Oh, Kevin. I know Kevin.
Yeah,
I've run into him a few times. Good man.
Where's that, upstate?
You know what I tell people? You've heard of Pearl River, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
We're a suburb of Pearl River.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. We're just about 5 miles south of the Tappan Zee Bridge.
You're a suburb of a suburb.
Yes, exactly. Like my kid's high school was Tappan Zee High School.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, I met your daughter in Scotland. It's like 2
Oh,
years
Billy, what a
ago.
great story that is. Yeah.
His daughter, Mark, I did comedy in Scotland, and his daughter goes to school there at Edinburgh.
She was at Edinburgh. You know, she was doing.
She
She was
brought
at
a bunch
Boston
of
College.
friends there, and I was begging the guy, "Come on, let me do more than 5 minutes." He goes, "No, just 5 minutes." I was like, "Ah, shit."
Yeah. I saw it on Facebook. I saw Billy Cannon on Facebook saying, "I'm going to do stand up at the Barrel of Monkeys." It was the name of the place. Am I right?
Monkeys in Edinburgh. Yeah.
My daughter's dorm room was across the street. I couldn't believe it. I called her right up. I said, "Oh, my friend Billy's going to be there." She went over with a whole passel of friends from school.
It was
What
great.
a lot of fun that was, man. Yeah. And she's home for the holidays. Now, she lives in London now, full time.
Wow.
She's a writer over there. Yeah. And my other daughter is teaching first grade in Dublin. She just came home for the holidays. So everybody's home now. But I said,
her name was Maura, right?
Yes, Maura.
Maura, yeah.
Maura, yeah.
I said to her, Maura, get some money from your father. He's got big bucks.
Hey, listen, I paid 4 years at Boston College, man. She got plenty of my money.
I paid 4 years for 2 guys at Elon in North Carolina. That was no slouch either.
Nice. Yeah, now your son was at Edinburgh studying like international politics? Or something?
Glasgow.
Glasgow, okay.
Well, the University of Edinburgh, but he went to Edinburgh, Dublin, and Prague. 3 countries.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Nice.
he graduated. He came home and got a job. He's working in the room next door to me.
Oh, he's working from home.
Yeah,
Okay.
he works remotely. He's got a job in cybersecurity.
Beautiful. Very nice. Nice.
But he still uses my car like it's his, you know.
Oh, yeah. My
Get
daughter,
him a
she just.
freaking car. Why don't you just get him a car? Get him
He
a
has
car.
I have a Honda CRV. He uses it like it's his.
Give it to him.
Buy him one. Come on, Cannon. Check the yellow pocket. You
Crying
got
out
plenty,
loud. Jesus Christ.
Give
Oh,
it to
my
him.
God.
I already gave him like $160,000 for school.
Who else are you going to give it to? Who else are you going to give it to?
I don't know.
Yeah, you're 64, Billy. You know, I mean, come on. What do you
Right,
got?
I
20
could
years
die,
left?
man. I don't even know if I'm gonna get to use my deferred comp. You know,
Start
I
using
got to
it
talk
now.
to Joe Kane about that.
He's the man. He's the man.
We had him on. You know, he said cops ask financial questions on Facebook, and all the time I'm like, why the fuck are you asking a question about your finances on Facebook?
Yeah,
Remember
really.
that we used to ask the old time cops, and they would be like, take a pension loan every 6 months.
Oh, Billy.
The best thing for you.
And I never heard the word shortage until I walked into the pension section.
Right.
Then they explained to me, oh, you got a big shortage from all them loans you took. But I tell you what, when I was in the 5-2, I went into CPOP before I got made sergeant, and there was a guy there who was a real old timer back in 86, 87, when deferred comp first started. No one knew what that was.
Right.
And this old man sat us down, and it was a mandate. Fill out these. He wouldn't let us leave the room until we filled out all the documents, signed it all, and signed up for this deferred comp thing. I look at name, Al McLaughlin was his name. I thank God for that guy every day, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first was going to get into it, my wife was like, we can't afford it. I go, we can't afford not to do it.
Not to, yeah.
And I went in for like 5%, you know. And,
Yeah, you know what? It went up and down, up and down. I closed on a new house, it went down. You know, I got made, it went up. You know what I mean? You could always adjust it, you know?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, so that's a big shout out. Finest Financial. Make sure everybody knows.
We gave him a full show, man.
I know. Yeah. So let me shout out to these other guys, the English brothers out in Brooklyn. I told them some of them will be watching.
Cool.
Their father, John, was a good friend of mine. He was born the same year as my father. He came on a job in the 50s, this guy. He had 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls. All 3 boys came on a job. One of the girls married a guy on a job. One of the other girls married my brother-in-law, so there's a connection. But I have a lot of fun hanging out with them. And you know what? Let me ask you this. When's the last time you heard somebody call another guy a doofus? Remember that said doofus?
That's a long
oh my God. These 2 guys, they call each other doofus all the time. I laugh my ass off. I laugh.
Yeah, that word's not used anymore, doofus.
No. That's why it's so funny when you hear him saying it. Yeah.
You know, I knocked a guy out once for calling me a doofus.
Oh, good. I'm glad you went behind the screen there. You can't get near me.
But I was in college too.
Where'd you go to school?
I'm not bragging here, but Queensboro Community College.
That's a brag?
Well, yeah. He learned the hard way, that guy.
Did they require SATs?
Yeah. But yeah, that was a big mistake he made. He was getting on my nerves, that guy, so he had to go. He learned the hard way. And you know what's funny is that years later, I saw him on Bell Boulevard. I was working patrol. I was in the task force. I was doing a foot post, and I saw him starting trouble somewhere else. So I'm like, this guy never learned the lesson. He's just a perpetual troublemaker. And, you figure you could knock some sense into somebody, but you really can't. They're not going to learn until it's time to learn.
You know, you remind me of this story. I probably shouldn't tell it, but it's kind of related. Years before I came on a job, I lived in Riverdale. Like Mr. Viggs, Riverdale Steakhouse, the Mayo Inn, all these places.
Double Days. Remember Double Days?
Yeah, I bartended right next door. Remember there's a little Irish bar in the corner called the Mayo Inn?
Yeah, I love that place, Double Days. I don't know why.
Yeah, it was a nice place. Yeah. There was a place on Jerome Avenue by St. James Park called The Lodge. And it was those guys that went up and opened up Double Days. So they kind of brought a crowd with them. With Double Days closed, no one can make a go of it there. It's a no man's land.
Wow.
It's, you step foot outside the door, you turn left, you're in Yonkers, you turn right, you're in the Bronx. They're calling across the street, You know what? I'm not going to tell the rest of that story. It's not.
Yeah, all right. Listen, whatever you have that thought where I'm not going to tell that story, don't tell it.
All right. Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah.
It's funny when you said the bar was named The Lodge. I was friendly with the Reynolds brothers who owned PJ Reynolds on 20th and 2nd. And that place almost never had women in it. And I would walk in there and I'd be like, what is this, a fucking hunting lodge? And he used to get pissed when I would say that. I go, there's a guy over there with his shotgun over his shoulder. There's another guy over there wearing a moose hat. I go, what is this place,
Wait, that place is still up and running, isn't it? There's a fellow our age that still runs it, right?
No, it's closed. It's like a school. They took the whole corner.
There's a Reynolds. My wife knows a guy named Reynolds.
There's one in Midtown, I think.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
RJ Reynolds or something like that.
Yeah. The guy that runs that place went to school with my wife.
You know what happened? The Reynolds brothers tried to go upscale, and they got a place in Midtown, tried to make it like fancy, and it wasn't the right place for it. And they went under. They were saloon owners. And the guy I hung with, John, he was the manager of Pete's Tavern for like 30-something years. Pete's on 18th and Irving. I tended bar there for like 3 years.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. Well, the Mayo Inn next door to Doubledays. That was my mother's brother, Tommy, my Uncle Tommy. They're from Mayo. It
He
was
was
an after hours.
born and raised in Ireland. Jack Duggan was his name. I just sing Irish songs.
Mark, can you mute him? Is there a mute button there?
Unfortunately, no. He's at the controls. That's the downside
So
of it.
tell Mark, John has a school called The Key, and it's a promotional school, and he's been doing it for pretty much for years now, right? How many years you been?
Oh,
doing
20, more than 20 years. Yeah,
Holy shit.
88. Yeah.
it? So you're like the new
98.
PPS. Who was that? George Mullins, and who was the other guy?
Frank Connolly.
Frank Connolly and George Mullins, two other Irishmen, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
I
you-
was their student, man. I love those guys. They were great.
They taught you the biz.
No, not really. I just was a student of theirs, you know?
I know. I used to see you at the classes.
Right,
I
right.
stole, I was like, when the sergeants, when I went to those BMOC, the guy goes, "You'll be SFL." And I was like, "What the hell's that?" He was Sergeant for life. And that was me.
Where'd you retire out of, Billy?
Manhattan North Homicide.
Oh, okay.
I was there like my last 9.5, 10 years.
When did you leave?
I left in October 31st, 2011. I had had almost 27 years. I did. I had enough,
Hey,
Yeah, well, I know.
how hard is it to start a school like that? Like, what did you have to do?
Oh, it was hard. It was hard. You know what? I think because, and I saw other guys try and start one up, not make it. And, for some reason, I just knew this was going to work. It's what I was meant to do. Because it happened quite natural. I was the ICO in a 3-3. I smoked the lieutenant's test. I smoked the captain's test. I think I got the highest written score in the city on the captain's test. And I was still a lieutenant. I got passed over. I got jammed up for shooting and all this and that. And so I was lieutenant for a couple of years. Like I said, I was actually on a 3-3. And it was, the test, all of a sudden, there was no test for 8 years. And all of a sudden, the test came one after the other. I took the 97 captain's test, 96 lieutenant's test, 97 captain's test. And then a 99 lieutenant's and captain's test popped up. And guys were coming to me, looking for help to study. How'd you do this? What'd you think of that? How'd you figure this out? And we're in my office in a 3-3, and I'm basically holding class. And somebody, made a joke. Hey, you should charge us. And like that, the freaking light bulb went off. And I thought of Connolly and Mullins, and they were pretty much, they never formally retired and said, we're wrapping up here. They never actually said that. But 98 was like their last hurrah. And it struck me. I could do this, And you know what the funny thing is, Billy? I went around to all our contemporaries. Because you remember in the day then, you knew who the top scoring guys were, like who the best students, like Mike Shea, Kevin Ward. You knew their names even if you didn't know them. Tommy King, remember a lot of guys, Tommy Galati, all these guys,
Right.
Danny Nicholson, they all aced every test. And I went around to all my contemporaries, say, listen, I'm going to do this. Join me. I'll need help. Oh, I don't know. And a lot of guys, no, they were, I don't know, shy or busy or whatever. I couldn't get anybody to join me. If you remember, there was a real controversy in 97, 98. They promoted a bunch of people who didn't pass the test. And then they extended the list, and then they this and that. And there was a whole cadre of young guys that came up behind us. They had 5 less years on a job than us, generally. And they all got promoted to lieutenant with us. So we're all in BMOC together. And it was like you could draw a line across the room. We're the old contingent. Those are the young guys that we felt didn't belong here,
Right.
And I couldn't get anybody to help me with this school idea. So I started talking to the young guys, and they were eager. And that's where my partners came from. Jack Donahue, remember Jack Donahue?
Yeah.
He
was
retired as
from
a
the
3-star
South. He was from the South, wasn't he?
at a 2-0.
Okay.
Yeah. He just retired as a 3-star. But I got Jack, and I got Paul McCormick. Paul McCormick was a CO to 13, CO to 4-1. He's from Dublin. Anyway.
See, the Irish connection is everywhere here.
Yeah. It's the Irish Mafia. Yeah.
You feel like the same people that scored really high on NYPD tests would have fared well on college tests, exams like that?
There's no doubt, Mark. Absolutely, yes. Listen, there are, and I can tell you this, teaching these classes, practicing members of the bar who could not pass the 1996 lieutenant's exam. There are CPAs on a job that could not pass an NYPD captain's test. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. Yes.
Yeah,
Why?
but John, conversely, a lot of guys with law degrees smoke those tests too.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's
They
people
kill
with no degrees that smoke them. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what it all comes down to? It's like I'm going to talk about. This is the way I talk in class. It's how hard you're going to study.
You know, John, someone named John Fahey asked Monahan why he decided to hire a civilian to work for the key.
Oh, get the frig out of here! How do you know that, prick? I love that man. You know what he said to me one time?
We got people chatting live with us right now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, there's someone called the Joy Catcher. I hear that happens more often minded when young sometimes and fresh, good ideas. Oh, lots of Irish in me. La.
I have no idea what you just said.
Well,
but that guy Fahey, let me tell you.
The Joy Catcher. There's people chatting live while we're live on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right, good, good. John Fahey, he was in Vietnam. So, you know, he's a good 15 years older than us, right? So he's working the door for the key. He wasn't on a job or anything. He's just a good, solid guy. You know, one of these lifelong Marines, you know. Him and Jimmy Shea hit it off real well. They became close friends. So I'm breaking his balls. We go back and forth a lot, as you can tell by that post he just gave you there. And whatever I said made some wise remark to him. He stands up in front of like hundreds of cops. He goes, you know, it's going to be pretty hard to explain to your cops how a 62-year-old man kicked your ass. That's his famous.
How did you wind up in the perfect spot for a promotional school, the Office of Management Analysis and Planning?
Oh, that came years later, man. That came years later. That was
the perfect place for you, right?
It ended up, yeah. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I tell you what, I started the business. I remember the first class was November 17th, 1998 at Fordham University. I rented a room there from them. 12 guys showed up.
Uh-huh.
But I lived it and I breathed it. And I tell you what, man, people talk about a 40-hour work week. I worked 40 hours straight. Then I would sleep 6-8 hours. I'd go back at it another 40 hours. How to give the city its 8.5 a day, right? I mean, oh my God, I worked so hard. I lived it. I breathed it. I loved it. 12 guys showed up at the first class, but I taught the best class I could possibly teach. And word spread slowly. You know what, Billy, it comes down to, they say knowledge is power, right? When it comes to, like, say, public speaking, if I know what I'm talking about, I'm the most confident guy in the room. If I'm not certain, I'm going to hem and haw and, you know, ask, you know, I'm not so sure. I knew that book so friggin' well. I was so confident. And then, you know what else? I had a real desire to help you pass the test. Like, I had an us and them attitude towards the job. Like I said, I got jammed up. You know, I went through the ringer with the department a couple of times. My balls were not dipped in butter. I had no hooks. You know what I mean? My daughter's friends are all here. Hey, guys. Tell them to the Bachelorette.
Tell them to go on the YouTube chat. They can mess with you.
You know what? Give me a second, because they're gonna be walking past my office here in a minute. This is my daughter that you know, Billy, the girl you met. Hold on one second. Listen, boy, I'm a little Billy Cannon.
The Monkey Barrel. That's where I last saw her. The Monkey Barrel in Edinburgh.
I got it. You can go on YouTube chat. All right. They go down the basement to watch Bachelorette.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nice group of kids.
Yeah, I'm recording it. I wish I wasn't joking.
That's pretty scary, Mark.
I know, I'm kidding. Hey, so go back to the school now.
All right, so we started in 98. Like I said, Jack Dunning, Paul McCormick, and then Kevin Ward came on board. You know what? It started working. It started working because I had an honest desire to help you pass this test. I really, really wanted you to do well. You know what I mean? I that comes across. People know that you mean it, you know?
John, Joe Kane's watching. He said your portfolio just took a huge hit.
Yeah, that motherfucker. That motherfucker.
So, well, when you say you had an honest, you really wanted the people to pass the test, and you said you worked a 40-hour week straight. What you mean by that is you went to work, you worked your 8.5 hours, and you went home, and then you worked on putting the course together. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. What we did was, I mean, developing a lesson plans was a tremendous amount of work. That's something none of the other schools had done before, so it was kind of unique. We didn't just do questions. I would take a 14-page patrol guide procedure and distill it down to 2 pages of what you need to know to prepare. If they ask you a question on this procedure, read the procedure once But here's the 2 pages of notes that you'll need to study from. I still say it today. Read the patrol guide, study my lesson plans. So, I mean, the patrol guide is 2,000 pages of very technical writing. I turned it into much fewer pages of something you could actually study, you know?
Well, John, you know who did that? And I don't know what your feelings are towards him, but
Julian.
Mike Pilecki.
Oh, yeah, the Pilecki guide, sure.
He did a guide that people
Yes, he
swore
did.
by, that they
Yes,
just
he did.
studied for that and, passed.
Yeah. That was a good book he made. It was
Yeah.
a very good book.
Yeah.
He went into business with PTS. They like bought the book from him or something, and it didn't go well in the end. I forget it. I met Mike a few times. He was friends with
I
Danny
think
Nicholson.
they tried to sell it without compensating him.
Yes, it didn't go
No
well.
way.
I don't wanna
Really?
get into
And he
details.
had
I
it
don't know.
he had it copyrighted. So
Yeah.
They try to steal from a cop?
Something
Well,
like that.
it's like
I
you
don't know.
want-
Listen, I don't know the details, guys. Mike Pilecki wrote a very good book. That's all there
Right.
is there.
Yeah.
Mike Julian did the same thing. You remember that, the Julian guide?
it was before me, but I know who he is.
No, you remember?
Oh
what
yeah,
was the
now
school
I
they
remember.
ran?
What,
Him
was
and John
KSA?
Timoney and
Was it KSA or something?
KSA. That was right. Yeah.
Well, I just meant that whenever you get involved in a deal now, and you're the outsider, you can watch Dave Chappelle talk about it for 18 minutes on that Unforgiven thing where he got beat on that deal with Comedy Central. You're gonna get beat. It's your first contract. You don't know any better. They, at the other hand, you're gonna get beat. It always happens.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you know what? We were at Florida. You were asking about the schedule, Mark. We do a class at 10 a.m. till 12:30. Then we do another class at 7 p.m. to 9:30. And I was a one-man band. I'm the guy with the cymbals and a monkey on his back running around doing everything all by myself. Teach a class, get to work. And you know, that guy, as an ICO back then anyway, you could work 4 hours, come back later in the day and work another 4. This way you popped up, no one knew where you were coming from,
Right.
So I use that to my advantage. And I would teach both classes. In between, I would be writing lesson plans, writing questions. I was at campus BMOC. Remember Gold Street in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
And I'm living up here in Rockland. What a pain in the ass it was to get out there. It could take
Oh,
me 2
my
hours
God.
of traffic. I would leave here at 5 o'clock in the morning, get to BMOC, sit in my car outside Gold Street, writing questions for 2 hours to beat the traffic and get 2 hours of work in,
Right.
I used to work in that building, 300 Gold Street.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I used to do. I was in detective training, so
Oh, okay. We go over to Flyer Tech for lunch, right?
yeah,
Nice cafeteria over there.
yeah. That was good
My
stuff.
phone is blowing up, but I can't look at it. I'll have to get back to these guys later.
So back to the course. So how long did you have to keep up that pace for?
Until I took on partners. I met Jack Donahue, I met Paul McCormick, and it started growing. And I realized this is going to work. We can expand now. And you know what? And people who aren't on a job would be interested to hear this. There's really 2 departments out there. There's Brooklyn and Queens, and then there's Bronx, Manhattan, And I needed to get out into Brooklyn because the job resides on Long Island. I mean, the overwhelming majority of people live out east of Manhattan as opposed to up north. And I needed a guy that people knew, like the guys in Brooklyn. They don't know who John Monahan is. The guys in the Bronx, Manhattan had an idea, but so I did not know Kevin Ward, but he was one of those names of the top scoring people that you'd heard about, And I knew Mike Shea knew him. We were talking about Mike Shea earlier. Mike was another top scoring guy. So I got in touch with Kevin, and actually a student walked up to me after class one day, and we're going over the lesson. He's asking me questions. He goes, "Oh, my lieutenant told me that this was some of the best study material he's ever seen." I said, "Who's your lieutenant?" He said, "Kevin Ward." I went, "Have him call me." I'd heard that name from Mike. And that's how I met Kevin. Kevin came up to Fordham. He taught a class. And then, we worked it out that he was going to handle the Brooklyn, Long Island aspect of it. And then it just grew into, Jack actually got busy. He went to Fordham Law School. He really didn't have the time to continue with this. So he went, he begged off. And then it was myself and Kevin Ward and Paul McCormick. And to this day, it's the 3 of us still running the show.
What size did those classes grow into?
Oh, they got big. They
From
got big.
12 to how many?
200-300 in the room.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what is
We did a
person
class.
paying per class?
Oh, it varied. I mean, it was 25 back in the day. And I mean, you know what? Paulie handles all the business end of it. You know what I mean? It's all, listen, Mark's laughing. You want to see my house again? You want to ask Joe, he'll tell you. But
Is that behind you? Is that a duffel bag of cash?
Hey, listen. When's the last time you saw one of these, Cannon? Huh?
Is that a shillelagh?
No.
Or
It's a freaking slapper.
Oh, that's a slapper. I've seen.
Aren't they? Are they illegal? I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to carry.
Hey, Joe Kane said he worked 4 hours as an ICO, and then he says per week.
Yeah. No, I listen. There was no fooling around there. Here's who my COs were: Joanne Jaffe and Gary McCarthy. Those two didn't miss a trick.
No.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Jaffe's suing the department right now for discrimination.
I heard that. Yeah, him and yeah, I saw that in the paper.
You didn't want to. You almost.
No, I thought you.
Your tongue almost went somewhere you didn't want it to go.
Let me tell you something. I know Joanne very well. I was her ICO and she was a precinct commander. She made me her shoe fly when I made captain against my objections. I should tell you a story about how long I was a shoe fly for. And then she was the chief of OMAP and I was her captain down here too.
John, we have fans all over the world. Explain to them what a shoe fly is. They don't know.
Okay. All right. A shoe fly is, you know what? You got a patrol supervisor in the rank of sergeant, and he's out there with his squad. He's living and dying with these guys. And then there's a whole hierarchy of people within the command. It's a platoon commander and rank of lieutenant, right? And if it really hits the fan, you call in an executive level supervisor. And if it's off hours, they're all gone home. So you have a duty captain that stands in for them. So between all of those people, someone's got to be watching for the petty little rules that in the end, you die at death of 1,000 cuts, right? You got to have somebody looking at the stupid things that none of these people who are living together are going to be bothering looking for. That's who the shoe fly captain is. Plain clothes, unmarked car, go out there and see who's wearing white socks with their blue uniform, which is an infraction, and write them up. It's just the most annoying presence in the world.
Right.
But Billy, it's like you ride up and down the Palisades Parkway over here. Everybody complains about the Parkway police. They're such nitpicking, ball breaking. But I'll tell you what, there'd be 5 fatalities a year on that highway if they weren't out there.
Right.
Because they're a presence. Everyone knows that they're out there. You may never see them for a month, but they're behind the next tree somewhere. There's no fatalities on it.
But John, there were certain bosses that went after shit like white socks or
I know.
shoes.
And,
let
me tell you my shoes.
You're a paramilitary organization. You're supposed to look sharp. But I remember one time I called a 1013 and no one showed up. And we had 2 armed robbers face down on the ground. So we got them cuffed. We brought them in. And as I'm walking in, the CO, you'll guess who he was. He comes up to me. He goes, "Did you see Cintron's shoes?" I fucking went off on him. I went off.
Where were you a cop, Billy?
First, I was in the 2-0, then street crime, and then I got promoted with 4 years and 10 months on.
Okay.
Probably too early. I should have been a cop longer, really.
Well, I know what you mean. I got made just right at my 5th anniversary.
Yeah, I had 4 years, 10 months. Yeah, but I had already been.
Did you come on January '84?
No, January '85.
Oh, okay. I was January '84.
So I had already been in anti-crime for 2.5 years out of those 4 years and 10 months.
Wow.
So
nice.
Yeah, well, that was good. And one of
so did you have Louis Manetta as your CO down there?
No, I had Anamone.
Oh, okay.
I had Anamone was my CO, which look how it worked out.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I go back to the school for a second? Because I have a personal reason why, because I'm developing something. So as far as what was your you were using PowerPoints?
No.
How much of the lesson did you obviously you got to prepare the lesson, but I'm just talking about the production of it. You know what I'm saying? Like what materials did you have back then? It was just you talking? There was no PowerPoints, there was no slides?
No. You had a booklet in your hand. And I would say, all right, page 7. You see that box on the right corner here? And then we would talk about that. And then we'll talk about how I created that, where that came from. I handed you a booklet when you walked through the door, and it was just me talking to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And to this day, I tell you what, I still do presentations for other things. I'm a consultant now and everything. And I walk into a conference room, and they got the screen up there, and they got the controls here for me to do this PowerPoint. I don't do PowerPoint. Look at me. I'll talk to you, and I'll explain it to you. I have handouts, Mark. I give them handouts, and then it's, that's, one of the reasons.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. I had a one-man show. And if you go a lot of one man, not one man, but one solo shows. Mine was called 20 and Out, by the way. A lot of them use video or they'll use music. I used music, but it was only in between the scenes. But the rest of it was me talking. I never went to a video. I didn't want a distraction. And a lot of it's just a distraction, I feel, from going back to paying attention to you. You're messing up the people's focus. There's things you can say in a manner of which you say them that people will remember. They'll pick it up.
Yeah.
Now, when you take them away to a video or something like that, they lose it.
You know, kind of related to that, but at the heart of that is when someone's selling you something, you know it right away. Cops have got really keen bullshit detectors. And if you're trying to sell them something, they know it right away. If you're sincere, they know that right away too. And like if you're teaching in the academy or you're teaching somewhere else, you're looking at the clock. Oh, should I got an hour and a half to fill here? What am I going to say? Maybe I'll do this for 10 minutes. I'll show them a film on that for 15 minutes. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? We were here for a reason. We were here to help you do better on that test, and we meant it. The less bullshit that I wanted, nothing but classroom time with you. And that's what made it difficult to find good teachers. We went through a lot of different guys, and there were guys that had big reputations and that were lively guys, but they didn't know the book well enough. Then there were guys that knew the book like this, and they just didn't have the presence in the room. You know what I mean? And then I'd come across a guy that was great, and I would elevate him and do everything I could. You know, we had some great guys teaching for us over the years. I'm sure you like Jimmy Shea, his brother Dermot. Dermot taught for us for like 10 years. I got this guy, Ralph Salento, today. Did you know Ralph?
No.
Ralph's a great teacher. Great teacher. I should tell you a quick story about Ralph. He was doing, oh God, there's too many stories, and half of them I can't tell because there's behind the scenes stuff going on, man. Anyway, yeah, no, it went well. And I can't build, you know what, Mark, you're talking about like a business model. There's nothing special there. What made it successful, honestly, was the attitude of, we want to help you. You know, the motto on the website is the school founded with your success in mind. And it's not bullshit. You know, I meant it then, I mean it now. You know, I read some of these intermotors. Billy, can you imagine still studying intermotors all these years later?
Oh,
I'm still studying them. My eyes bleed some days. Every day I'm studying intermotors still.
They can drive you out of your mind.
It's so dry.
It is, but you know what? Not when I'm done with it. You know what I mean? I take it, and sometimes I read it and I still get annoyed at the department. Like, I understand that they're writing for legal reasons. That, you know, like you said, Billy, Mark, I was the commanding officer of MODS, Management Orders Directives Section. I was the last one to sign off on an interim order before it went to the printer. I was so surprised at how many people had to sign off on it. The chief of department, chief of patrol, legal, labor relations, you know, like so many people had to sign off on every little sentence before it got published, you know. So I do understand that, but nobody had an eye on the end user. How are the guys in Sector Adam going to read this fucking thing and follow it, you know? Right. You know what we were missing, Billy? I'll tell you what, you know, I did 15 years on the street, and I loved every minute of it. I made captain. I went to Harvard for a year, came back, went down to headquarters, and I was appalled. Like, I just didn't like it down there for a lot of different reasons. But now I'm writing policy.
But you know what it was? You slipped in the hall on the butter that dripped out of the butter truck.
All the butter that was dripping. Hey, I read that article. You posted an article by Louis Anamone yesterday or today on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
I read the article, and you know, towards the end, the true Louis Anamone comes out. He basically said, "You got to get rid of all these do-nothings in headquarters."
Oh, I love that.
His best line.
But you know, something that'll never ever happen. But that he's right.
It'll never happen. I know. Yeah. What did he used to say?
You know what?
I compare people. They became cops because the post office wasn't hiring that day.
You know what I compare the 1PP people to? The bodega cat.
Tell me why.
Because they just lay around there, the useless pieces of shit like a bodega cat.
You know, you remember now, compare like the 2-6 to like when you were in street crime. No, I'm not knocking the 2-6. I enjoyed my 8 months there, whatever.
Right.
But when you're in a quiet, when you're in a busy house, there's no time for bullshit because we got each other's backs. We're out there shoulder to shoulder going at it. You know, in a place like a 2-6, there's none of that camaraderie because we're not living and dying together, you know?
John, I'll tell you one thing. I didn't like the 2-6. And one
Well,
of
it was
the
really,
one of the
you
things
know,
I hated about the 2-6 was everyone in that precinct was somebody's contract.
yeah.
Oh no, you can't grab him. He's the captain's bucket. Oh no, you can't grab her. That's the lieutenant's shoe shiner. You can't.
Yeah.
You know, everyone had some other role, but what they were. You
Right.
know,
Right.
I was
And
like,
it was missing the
fucking
camaraderie.
sick, you know.
You know, it wasn't an outpost in enemy territory. Like
No.
he just didn't have that feeling. So now I go down to headquarters and I realize this whole freaking building is full of people that, you know, they're not actually fighting crime together. And it was just a whole, you know what? One of the first times I had to walk in, I'm wearing a suit and carrying a briefcase. I stop and look up at what is essentially an office building. And I realized this is why I dropped out of college. I don't belong here. I'm not gonna do well here, you know. And I didn't enjoy myself there at all. I really did not. The commute sucked. A lot of other things about it sucked. But
So you're reading the interim orders every day. So obviously, when you read the interim orders, there are things currently that are changing about the job and the way they handle them. So you mentioned you get pissed off. Do you ever get pissed off at the direction the job is going in?
you know what, Mark? I do for about a minute, and then I let go of it and I go back to work because otherwise I would be consumed by it. Matter of fact, right now I'm working on a case. You know, the unions all just got together to sue the city council to get an injunction on that new law that they just passed. You know,
Which one, the diaphragm law?
The diaphragm law. Yeah, I'm working on that case with the unions right now. It's in a, you know, it's always been in a patrol guide. It's always been in a patrol guide in language you can work with. Don't sit, kneel, stand, or, you know, inhibit their breathing or blood flow. That's been in a patrol guide since we were on a job. And it's in language, you know, I just explained this to the attorneys the other day. When you look at the patrol guide, when you're talking about, say, you know, an administrative function, you can use language like under no circumstances, at no time, never. But when you get to the tactical part of the book, you cannot use that language. You have to use language like when feasible and consistent with personal safety, or when possible, things of that nature. You cannot take strict language and apply it to a physically tactical situation. You cannot. And that's just what they're trying to do. Right. And it's not tenable. And how do you explain it to someone that has never been in the field? It's really hard. But like, I think that they do know what they've done and they simply don't care. You know?
No, they don't. You know, John, I wanted to just quickly get to that too, is that I have an interview tomorrow with two people in regards to the DOI report that just came out, which is scary. It's actually scary. And if you read what Eric Adams just said about it, it's even scarier. Because if that guy gets elected mayor, you have a...
He might too. He might. Yeah.
It's possible. But a scary...
Did you know him on a job?
Guy.
I never met him. He was a captain, right?
Yeah, he was a captain, but he had a reputation as a do-nothing. He was an activist as a cop, basically. You know,
I remember the 100 blacks for law enforcement.
That's what he was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Well, you know what was missing? What I felt when I got down to headquarters, and I'm writing policy, and I'm sitting at the policy table with all the chiefs and inspectors and everybody, and I realized something. We're a paramilitary organization, right? And much like the military, you've got civilian leadership, and then you've got uniform leadership. And there's a distinct separation there, you know, like the PC and the First Step are not uniform members. And the uniform then takes its marching orders from the civilian leadership and applies it out there. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff down at the Pentagon, right? The Joint Chiefs of Staff, their offices are down some hallway. There's a conference room, I guess, in the middle, right? And there's one guy who shares an office on that hallway, who sits at that table and has as much say in the matter as any of those chiefs, and he's a sergeant, the sergeant of the Army. And he sits there and he tells them when they're going off course from the angle of the end user. We have no such place, nothing in place in the police department. And it's something we really miss. And when you read these interim orders, you realize they need, I mean, you know, the unions play that role. This is not the military. We go home at night. They don't feed and clothe and house us. I understand all this. But to throw down these orders that are just untenable, some of them are just untenable. You need to have that perspective at that table when it's being written, you know?
Well, John, they came up with 20 recommendations. One of them, and I
who's this, a DOI? Billy, listen, If I get hired to do a case regards to that DOI thing, I'll study it then. I'm not studying the goddamn
I'm
thing.
just going to read you this one, number 7. Through both training and policies, NYPD should expand incorporation of differentiation methods into their protest policing to reduce reliance on indiscriminate enforcement approaches that fail to distinguish between those engaged in peaceful First Amendment activity and those engaged in violence or property destruction. You tell me how you can do that when rioters are interspersed with peaceful demonstrators. How do you tell who are who?
Right. You know what they were pissed off about? Our disorder control people have been doing what they do for decades. They've gotten very, very good at it. And they have 1,000 or a couple of thousand people coming over the bridge, spilling into Manhattan. And they set it up where they split them into 2 groups. Then those 2 groups got split again. They bifurcated them out, and there was no issue of, there was no crowd big enough to do any damage. They did such an excellent job. And they were furious, the leaders, that they were basically defeated at that point. And that's exactly where that came from. They called it kettling. I had a lawyer on the phone not too long ago. Yeah, they were asking me about kettling. I said, it's a term I've never heard. Not even once until you said it have I ever heard that. It is not a policing term. It's not a disorder control term at all.
But it's brilliant.
I mean, what this is the basics of disorder control. And they're upset because it worked. So now they want you to do it differently somehow. You know, are you a bad guy? All right, step this way. You're a good guy? Or step that way. Come on.
But John, you know something? If you look at not just the NYPD, but other departments during this seemingly year of disorder, I watched Chicago get pelted with fireworks and rocks and frozen water bottles. And I said, what are they doing there? What is the point of them being there? If they're not allowed to do their job, if they're not allowed to break up the crowd, are they there to be the representatives of government that gets the shit kicked out of them?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You nailed
well, that shouldn't be though.
They want you to be able to beat on somebody, beat on these cops, and hopefully you can get your frustration out. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the administrations. Whoever's the administration handling it. Like, they took away so many of our weapons during this past George Floyd demonstrations. I didn't see a helicopter. There was no horses. Finally, they took the bikes out of somewhere. But it was just basically, if they could have, they would have had you out there with no helmet either.
You know what pissed me off? When people say that the NYPD laid down and let it happen, it just pisses me off to no end. You know, we made 4,000 collars in the first 2 days of those demonstrations.
But they don't
want 4,000 collars, Billy.
You know, all fair, you're talking about 4 days, and then it was done. If you go to these other cities, which I know they would love to keep cracking at New York, but it just doesn't happen. They won't allow it. But you go to Oregon, you go to
because they didn't make 4,000 collars.
Minnesota.
That's why it's still continuing out there. We made 4,000 collars in this town. You know, listen, and I people badmouth Dermot, and that pisses me off too. He's one of the best guys you'll ever know. And you know something? What he's up against with that mayor and that city council, they hate us. They want us to fail. You know that this department broke its all-time record for gun collars this past October. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
That's freaking phenomenal. You know, the old timers, when we came up, Billy, we were working anti-crime. Oh, you guys don't know shit. You don't know what we know. And then we come of age and we say that about the young guys behind us. You know, it's all bullshit. It was bullshit when they said it about us. And it's bullshit if we say it about these guys. They broke the all-time record for gun collars in October. That's really laudable. With no anti-crime. I mean, yeah, maybe it's because the bad guys feel freer to carry today. Which, you know, here's another thing. When they talk about bail reform, these fucking politicians talk about bail reform. And they ignore statistics when it works against their agenda, right?
Yes, of course.
Right. So then they grab a hold of statistics when it works for them and they say, this is a small percentage of arrested persons who were released on bail recently. So it really does not have an impact on crime. Like, oh my God. The atmosphere in the street is what bail reform has created. There's no repercussions. I get locked up. It doesn't matter. I'm out tomorrow. Right. That's what you've created. The statistics don't. Now we're the ones saying the statistics don't matter, you know? But anyway.
Yeah, but you know, there also is this a theory of give him enough rope to hang himself. So See, all these people that get arrested, like, for example, in the protest, if you give them the opportunity to get a DAT, what do? They go right back to the protest. And if they're going to be active again, they're going to get collared again. So now at some point, there's going to come a day where you're going to get collared that last time where somebody's fed up, and they're going to see that you have this whole history of getting arrested because you might have been out.
Yeah, well, who's that, Billy? I mean, Mark, who's that? Some judge? There's no judge going to do that.
It's not even a judge. It's just going to be like they're going to do one more stupid thing, and then the whole history is going to come up.
Different guys.
If I locked you up, you're going to on a Friday. You're going to spend 3 days in the tombs. The rest of the protest is over for you. You've had enough. You know what I'm saying?
But
now
it's not 3 days in the tombs. They're getting out that same night.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Yeah.
It's like you get back out, and where do you go? You go right back to get arrested again.
But an interesting statistic is that 1 out of 7 arrestees are from out of town.
Yeah, that's
another
thing.
Protests. Yeah.
That's what made all these protests so hard to deal with. Because, they don't know who the cop of the month is. The neighborhood people there, if they're protesting, whatever, and they see the person that always helps them. But now it's all.
Oh, listen, the average human being that lives in those neighborhoods, they don't want the police defunded. Everybody knows that that's the truth. They know that that's the truth.
You get these outsiders coming in, and they don't care. They don't know who the cop of the month is. They don't know these guys are good guys, and they're the ones destroying everything and looking to create anarchy.
That phrase, defund the police, came out of Minnesota, and I thought, I've never heard anything so stupid in my life. Then it came to New York, and a few thousand people, maybe not even that many, were outside City Hall June 30th, right, the deadline for the budget, screaming and yelling and waving their banners. This represents like 1/100th of 1% of the population of New York City. And as you said, Billy, most of them weren't even from New York City.
No.
And the city council took this as a justification to go and do what they did. I could not believe they cut the budget of the NYPD. It's like we gave the keys to the race car to a bunch of idiots that have no idea how to even start the engine, and they stripped the fucking car and left it on blocks.
Yeah.
The NYPD is the best department of its kind in the world. I'm not just bragging because it's us. We have the volume, the experience, and all of that. We've evolved so much on bringing down complaints, making collars without as many stops. We've done it all. And they cut our budget based on a fucking slogan for 1,000 idiots in the street. In a city of 8 million people, you listen to 1,000 idiots in the street? Well, it was the worst political move I ever saw. I couldn't believe it.
I worked in the academy after I retired. I worked for, it was called CUCS. I was doing crisis intervention, how to handle mental illness, because I'm an actor. So I do, I'm a professional actor. So I went there and I would act every week. I would act in these scenarios. And wouldn't you know, the program got defunded, right? But when they say it got defunded, who did it affect? Because those cops, they're still on the job. Now us, all the actors, which I was the only one that was retired out of 19 of them, and then all the clinicians, they all got let go. Right. So the only people that you're really hurting is the outside people that are coming there for training, for the most part, because they can't get rid of the cops.
Yeah. You know what they did recently? You mentioned clinician and, Billy, you remember the patrol guy, the EDP procedure, isolate, contain, call the captain, if they resist you, don't push it, blah, 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 unless they come at you, And then you look at 208 in the patrol guide, the arrest chapter. There's none of that in there. There is now. They're taking the basic tenets of how to handle resisting EDP, and they're starting to plug it into 208, the arrest procedures now. They don't want you fighting with them. If a guy says, I remember one time, we were making a collar up at a height. He looks at it. Like the decision's made. He's bleeding. There's the bat. You did it. It's like, Donnie, get out your cuffs. And the guy looks at me and goes, you're not taking me to Central. Holy shit. Pull out the sticks. Here we go,
Right.
Today.
The funny thing is that most of the collars that you're going to get are usually freaking EDPs at some point.
Yeah. I mean, who's in their right mind at that moment? But so when a guy puts his hands up, says, you're not taking me. Okay, treat him like an EDP. Now, listen, the prideful part of myself wants to say, that's bullshit, kick his ass,
Right.
But why? What's the point? Okay, if you want us to play that game, fellas, call a duty captain, and let's play that game then. You know what I mean? I mean, look, what's the reality? if you made 100 collars, maybe 15 or 20 of them fought with you. 80 of them didn't fight.
Listen,
Especially as you got older, you got better at it. You could talk them into cuffs, you know?
Yeah, that's another thing. Listen, you talk about isolate and contain. If you run into somebody like that and you figure out he's an EDP, if you're lucky enough, you close the door, and in the future they're gonna call up the clinician, let them talk him down.
Yeah.
And
Call
then
those violence interrupters. I need a violence
some
interrupter.
squad car is gonna go pick up the violence interrupter, bring him to the precinct, and then the guy's gonna be banging chairs off the walls, and they're like, "All right, you can go in there."
Yeah. You know, we used to be able to laugh at academia and agree to disagree and say, that's a lovely idea. I understand how you came to that conclusion, but it's not going to work, you know, and we would agree to disagree. They have overwhelmed us with their theoretical nonsense ideas that will not work. And now they're in a position to defund us and to make laws that direct us.
Let me stop you there for 1 second. De Blasio has already said, accept these 20 recommendations by DOI or basically you're out of here. I mean, how is that even
Out of here.
asking the police, is this stuff feasible? Is this stuff legal? Is this going to work? Is it, you know, these academics,
They're not,
most of them just lawyers with no
Right.
police experience, are giving 20 recommendations, which you must adopt. And Dermot
Right.
Shea said the other day, oh, he thanked the lady who wrote this shit. And you know, and I'm not putting down Dermot Shea, but he's in a big political position. What's her name again? Her name is, I'll tell you in 1 second. Her name is Margaret Garnett. She's a Yale undergrad and a Columbia Law School. That's it. She's a de Blasio, you know, radical.
so in other words, she hasn't put handcuffs on anybody ever in her life.
And I don't know if the rest of the DOI has either. They threw
No, I
one
know.
DA. One DA was on loan from Vance, and I don't even know who the other 20 or 25
You
people
look at that whole movement. It's about, when you talk about defunding the police, it's just about taking money away from blue collar workers and giving it to academia. Because now all of a sudden
Yeah.
you want to. Oh, really? You want to handle EDPs and homeless? Go ahead. Nobody wanted those jobs anyway.
Right.
We got saddled with them because nobody else wanted to do it. So go ahead and do it.
You know who just lands on the backs of? And when you use the phrase underworked and overpaid, no one fits it better than New York City EMS. If you were out on patrol, you know,
Tremendous.
we all felt the same thing. EMS, they worked too hard. They were not paid enough. And that's who this is falling on. An EDP call, they're the first ones through the door. You remember, they used to wait outside for us, and then we would go in together. They're the ones that are going to be leading the way through the door now.
But John,
I mean, it's
EDPs
untenable what they're doing. These are not
EDPs
practitioners making these policy decisions.
No, but I'm just saying,
Dangerous.
EDPs and homeless people are some of the most dangerous.
Yes,
Deal with it.
volatile.
And,
Yeah.
and these social worker types are just like, oh, I'll take care of it. Yeah.
Who's the
No, I
one
have
that
no
deems? Okay, you're coming over a radio call. Who are you basing it on the 911 operator, whether it's violent or non-violent? Now we're gonna so it's non-violent. So now you're gonna have to have a sector car drive that clinician over there
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
the
no, it's
radio
untenable.
said it was non-violent, and now you're gonna get over there and somebody's running after you with a knife. So what are you gonna do?
3-4, Adam, can I get one of those violence interrupters, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be the next step.
I got a violence
What do you mean?
interrupter
The
for you.
violence interrupters are in backlog?
Here's your violence interrupter right here. I have no idea. You know, I mean, it was an old pro that could talk a guy into cuffs, a guy that was ready to blow. And that's only after wrestling with guys 20 times over 10 years that you could get to that point where you could talk that guy into cuffs, you know. These people they're in their classrooms drawing up these ideas, and they've been empowered now to direct our actions. And it's really scary. It's
Very
just
scary.
frightening.
Because I don't
No.
think they care if a cop gets hurt or killed.
No, not at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
no way.
No.
No way. No
No.
way. That's
But he knows, this cop knows it's a dangerous job. You shouldn't have taken this job, you know?
Wow. Wow.
That's how
really
they
upsetting.
think, though. That's how they
Yeah.
think. You know, there's another procedure that I just want to bring this one up because it's so ridiculous. They want to keep guys with riot helmets off the set, basically. Here's the language. To the extent NYPD deems the assignment of specialized units or officers in riot gear or hard uniforms potentially necessary to protest response, it should stage those officers in nearby areas not visible to protesters for deployment only if necessary.
You know what? In all fairness, I was in the task force, and that's what we used to do. We used to park a couple of blocks away.
Yes, Mark, you're right. We're doing that anyway.
And then they used to walk over the captain, and if shit was really hitting the fan, they'd be like, "What are you guys doing sitting here? It's fucking going crazy over there."
Yeah.
Hey, listen, talk to our captain. Nobody told us to come to get out of the
You're right.
Yeah, but how about that
always staged
lieutenant
us.
that got hit in the head with a brick? What if he wasn't wearing a helmet?
You know what? You know what's funny? 213 in the patrol guy bill is a disorder section. And there's a line that's been in there for decades. Mandates you have your helmet with you at the scene of a disorder, but you didn't have to have it on your person. Here's the phrase, you might remember it, within sight and sound of the disorder. Meaning you could leave it in a bodega, you could leave it, you know, that was in a patrol guide. And it's like Mark said, we would stage the task force around the corner. Quick story. The Audubon Theater on 165 in Broadway.
I know it well.
They were going to tear it down and make a skyscraper, but it's where Malcolm X was killed. So the locals came out and said, no, it should be historical. They came to an agreement. They kept the facade. But anyway, they're out there protesting this one day. And I'm in the task force. They got us at the bottom of the hill on Fort Wash. You know, it's a big hill that goes up, right?
Yep.
So we're on Fort Wash. You can't see Broadway. Broadway can't see you. But we got guys, like 30 guys in helmets out here in case it goes bad. This kid, I'll never forget, Tony Acosta was his name. He was a rookie in 3-4. He went on to be a super cop, but he's in Wendy's on the corner. There's a Wendy's there. He's walking out.
Or McDonald's.
Yeah, no, it's a Wendy's.
On Broadway?
Yeah, 165, southwest
Oh,
corner.
165, okay.
So he's got the bags of food in his hand. And this woman comes running up. The guy just robbed me. He's got a gun. He's right there. The guy sees Tony. Holy shit. He throws it. He takes off. The guy runs across 165 down towards Fort Wash. Tony gets on the air. Oh, you had to see the look on this guy's face. He comes over the crest of the hill. It's 30 fucking guys in helmets in front of him. It was hysterical. Oh, man.
That's a bad day.
You
Yeah,
know,
for him,
that reminds me like an anti-crime when you'd have the block sealed and you're watching and you had anti-crime cops at both ends of the block and they do a stick up in the middle of the block and they come running and you're just waiting for them and they're running right towards you. It's such a great feeling to see two robbers running to you and they're all and you're like, fight, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I love
Good
that.
stuff, man.
That was the best feeling in the world, man. So.
All right, let me tell you about my favorite collars. Let's talk about your favorite collars.
My favorite collars? My favorite collar ever was I made an armed bank robbery collar with a sawed-off M1 in the 2-0.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the money is, right?
And I was off duty.
No shit.
Yeah.
Geez, there was a guy in the 2-6 with us, Billy. He got killed doing that.
Who was
What
that?
his name? Oh, what was Keith something? He got made sergeant with us.
Keith Levine, you mean?
Was that down in the 2-0? Didn't he get shot and killed off?
Yeah, he got in Midtown. He got shot and killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Remember that guy in the 2-6, Franz Jerome?
Yes, I do. He had a twin brother who was a security guard at Columbia Presbyterian. Did he shoot a guy in the 2-6?
Yeah, he shot a guy and
Yeah.
paralyzed him in the 4-4, and the guy sued him and got money.
Right.
And the guy had a Mac 1, and he shot it at him.
Wow.
Still sued and got money. That's the
Wow.
Money.
He was a solid guy, Franz Jerome. He had a
was
twin
great
brother.
guy. He was a great guy. He was a Caribbean guy. He had that great accent.
Yes. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Just sergeant.
Yeah, he was a good, solid man. Solid man.
He was
Yeah.
great, man. I remember that dude. That was a long time ago, man.
Yeah, 89, 90, 91.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here with this job? What do you think's gonna happen? It's gonna get worse and worse, you think?
You know, I'm so surprised, man. I thought that the pendulum had swung its apex and had returned. You know, I really did think that. And you know, Bloomberg. One thing that Mayor Bloomberg did very well, and thank God he was there as long as he was. He left the police department alone, and he let the police commissioner run the police department because he was smart enough to know that he didn't know. And then this guy comes in, and I understand he micromanages. I'm not there. I can't tell you exactly, but you see that guy Pichardo stormed out, basically, you know.
Yeah.
Calling a guy, calling a 3-star chief. The mayor was calling a 3-star chief directly. Where are you? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You got to leave that to the people that know how to do that, you know. I don't know where we're
Machado
going.
was a young guy too. He's like
Yeah.
42, 43 years old, I think, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know him.
That's fast to become chief of patrol, right?
Listen, how did it turn around the last time? It turned around because it became untenable to live and work in the city. People were sick and tired. It's going to take a really long time for it to get there. And you know what's scary about that is the people who suffer from that, who'd had enough the last time around and elected Giuliani, those people are not listened to. They're not being listened to now. They don't want this. This is purely a political movement. It's not a grassroots movement. It's a political movement. It's an ideology. It's not based on what the people living in the neighborhoods in the city want.
But it's also national. It's not just
yeah, you're right.
Because also, you know what's following this report? The state's report. Letitia James is doing one too.
I know.
Well, there's another hit job coming from the state, and Andrew Cuomo, the family bridge namer. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like another hit job's coming from the state. So what do they want?
I don't know.
They want somebody to blame it on. You know, any complaints, we could always blame it on the police. And you know what? Listen, shame on all the people that bail out and leave, because those are the people that could have made a difference. The people with the money could have said, no, we don't want this. I'm not going to donate to your campaign. And let me tell you something right now. You're only as good as your tentacles, and your tentacles, if you're a politician or your police force. And we're getting at a point right now with this COVID and the restaurants and stuff like that, where the vaccine's going to catch up to you. I don't care how much power you've been wielding all this time. They're going to give you 3 months with the vaccine, and they're going to open up. They're going to be like, you should have been vaccinated by now. We're opening up, regardless of what the mayor says and where the number's at. Once the vaccine's been out there 3 or 4 months, they're going to peek their head up. There's no line. All right, we're going to open up. That's it. It's over. So they got to stay ahead of it, because at that point right now, you can't use your police force. Look, how did they get that guy in Staten Island out of his bar? They used the sheriff's department. How did they get the people over here? They're using different, because the local police, the sheriff's department wouldn't do nothing for Cuomo upstate. They said, we're not going to enforce your stupid Turkey Day nonsense.
You know, maybe that's one way around this going forward. The title sheriff is very, very different position outside of New York City. You know, a police leader has to answer to whoever the municipal elected official is, the mayor, whoever they are. They have to take their orders for them. They serve at the pleasure of, right? Sheriffs are very different. They are the elected official. They don't answer to anybody out across this country. New York City, it's very different. But could you imagine running a campaign to become the police commissioner of New York City? Wouldn't that be interesting? And that person then did not have to answer to the mayor or to the city council. I mean, you know, sheriffs wield a lot of power out of the city.
No, but you know, John, they want more civilian involvement in the police department at the upper echelon of the police department.
Oh, and they have it already.
That's another one of their recommendations in this 20 recommendations they came up with.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
They're you know what? They're looking at things that we're doing progressively ourselves and saying, you should do this. Meanwhile, we're doing it already.
Right. But you know what I wanted to say, one real scary thought was, and everyone saw this, warrants was out on the street and they grabbed like 2 or 3 guys in the midst of the protest, and it was a textbook arrest. It was beautiful. And
I saw that.
Blasio objected to it. And these snowflakes, oh my God.
But not for long, Billy.
Everybody,
hey, that negative press went away.
That we're going to make it, like you got to announce to the whole town, we're going to make an arrest.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's okay.
Listen, I remember that one. They pulled him out of a car at a stoplight or something, right?
It was beautiful.
It was absolutely perfect. Yes.
And you know what? It's completely legal, but that's why you have to change. Listen, the guy's got 1 more year to continue to destroy.
The backlash on that call you just talked about did not last more than a couple of hours in the press. Everybody understood.
Well, the press wanted to jump on it, but
they weren't able to. They realized the substance was not there for them to feed on.
Right.
I remember the criticisms went away very quickly on that.
Well, but it just goes to show you where the mindset's at. It's like, well, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, we know that. Yeah.
They didn't arrest people like that. That wasn't fair. They didn't have a chance to fight back.
Right.
You're talking about strategy. You're talking about making an apprehension with a plan, you know, and unfortunately, they don't want you winning in these situations.
Yeah.
It's ironic because then they want to use you. Like, for example, all these stupid things that de Blasio puts down. You can't use the restaurant in the in the restaurant, right? You can't use the bathroom in the restaurant that you're eating at outdoors. And then he sits there with a smug on his face. Oh yeah, that was a mistake. I'm sure. And meanwhile, you fucked up these people's business for a whole 2 days. You made them cover all the nonsense they created outside. If you look, they built a restaurant outside of their restaurant because they can't sit in the restaurant because I don't know. So now you're sitting outside in a contained area with your own heater, breathing your own air in. It's just the guy doesn't know what he's doing, and it's just a matter of time. I'm telling you, 3 months of this vaccine out, and no matter what this guy says, nobody's going to listen, and you're going to have bedlam. He's got to stay ahead of it.
Well, we'll see about that. I hope you're right in some ways.
I'm telling you, they've had just about enough. I don't know how much money they're going to get from this new stimulus package, the small business owner, but it can never be enough. So maybe you're just giving them enough money to close the doors and let somebody else get a crack at it when things open up.
Well, you know what's scary? Like what you said a little while ago about this anti-police movement. It's national. It's national.
Well, it's
national across the country.
States. It's national in blue states, and they're not in many of them. You're talking about Oregon, Minneapolis, New York, L.A. But look at New York and L.A. People are bailing out in droves.
Did you see Biden? Did you see Biden at one point during his campaign? I'm not knocking him, but he said something about police reform. He was asked a question, and he said, "Well, why can't?" Maybe we'll just teach them to shoot them in the leg.
Right,
oh my God. That's like that. He doesn't realize that is the sentence that we use to illustrate the ignorance of people who've never been in a shooting or have never been trained as a cop. Right. That's the quintessential banner statement to show ignorance. And he actually said it. I couldn't believe it.
I don't know if you ever even heard some of the rhetoric that Cuomo comes out with. He really hates the police.
I'm surprised at that too.
Well,
yeah, he really does. I don't understand it.
And you know, like the coward he is, he pulled the state police out because he was afraid if they get involved in these protests, it'll come back to me. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And the state police were all over the city till the riots happened. Then he pulled them out.
Well, part of that is compression law too. I told you I'm on that case. I just read all the affidavits from the surrounding departments. And they've directed their people. We're not going into the city if we're going to be subject to that law. Right. You'll be arrested for doing your job.
And it happens upstate as well.
Yeah, and Yonkers too. Yonkers pulled out too. They won't come into the city.
There's a law that just came out. What was it?
No, well, the state passed its law, but the state law, it has a fairly high bar. It says if you crush someone's diaphragm or cut off their breathing and cause serious physical injury or death, you'll be charged. So, and it has to be done intentionally. Listen, we're wrestling around with a guy. We're trying to get him in cuffs. People have no idea how hard that can be. Right. Even a little person can give you a hell of a fight. And if you inadvertently crush their diaphragm for just a moment and don't even cause injury, you're under arrest, officer. Right. That's what New York City has written. The state law is bad, but at least the bar is high enough where it's intentional and has to result in serious physical injury or death. We can work within that.
So what are the chances of reversing this New York City law?
You know what, Billy? They asked for an injunction and were told no. But in saying no, the judge opened the door on a small piece. That's the piece I'm working on right now. Is it possible? It's possible. You know what will happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. They'll amend it. They'll amend it. The guy that wrote it is screaming and yelling. To amend it is to shut down the authority of the city council. It has to be amended. They're not. I don't think they'll get it thrown out entirely like the unions want.
John, how many members of the city council are legislators? How many of them have law degrees?
None of them. I don't know, Billy.
Well, how are they legislating shit from the city council?
Well, this is legislating. It's like, look, when a lawyer has a case, whatever field it's in, they hire an expert. Let's say it's an engineering thing. Well, I got to hire an engineer because I know how to be a lawyer. I know how to go to court and handle all it. I don't know anything about engineering. I need a subject matter expert, they call it, right? It's a medical malpractice. Well, I need a doctor in here. Get me an expert doctor because I don't know. They know enough to say, I don't know exactly the details of that profession. They don't see us as a profession.
Right.
They don't see police work for what it is. It's something that you really need to be trained, a lot of experience. We're not doctors, we're not engineers, but you know what? We know what we're doing, and you don't believe that. So you think that you can just Bigfoot in, direct our actions, and you have no idea what you're talking about.
But yet they're always calling for more training, more and
Yeah,
more.
right. Yeah, yeah.
But they're really not serious about that, because
No, they're not serious. And they don't
training
even know what
means
training
that
means.
you have to take the cop off the road for a long time, and that's
Yeah.
what training is. And they're not
Yeah.
willing to do that.
Therein lies the rub.
Yeah.
Want to train these guys? You're going to train them 6 months out of the year to work 6 months.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do. You're going to double the police force.
And they
No,
want
it
them to
does.
do unbelievably psychological things, like predict who of those two people is an anarchist and which one is just exercising his First Amendment. You have to be able to see that with your eyes.
You know,
If you
they
can't
need to
do that,
more
you're not
of,
you haven't been properly trained, you know?
remember the Funhouse? I don't know what they call it now. I'm sure it's not the Funhouse anymore, but
Yeah.
bring these people in. I know that they do bring civilians in and let them take a run through it, right?
Yeah.
They should do that. Should be required. You get elected to the city council, you got to go to Robin's Neck, go through the Funhouse. You know, it should be mandatory for them, and understand just how difficult this is, and that it is truly a profession. You know what I said to a lawyer the other day? This policing itself has more. We have gone from a blue collar job to a white collar profession in our professional lifetime. Billy and Mark, think about this. When you came out, I graduated high school in 1979. John Jay was the only college you could go to and take courses in criminal justice, let alone get a degree, right? Today, you'd be hard pressed to find an educational institution that doesn't at least offer classes, if not a degree, in our field. Educational mandates went in for promotion in our day. Billy, we were the first ones in '88 where you had to have college credits to be a sergeant, right?
And
That
then
was
a
the first
college
thing.
degree to be a sergeant.
Well, look
No, you needed 64 credits, 96 to be a lieutenant, bachelor's degree to be a captain. Those mandates were put in place in 1988 in New York City. All across the country, this trend has been increasing. A lot of the smaller departments, you have to have a bachelor's degree before they'll hire you.
Yeah, but that's the irony of it all, because now you're yelling and spitting and cursing somebody's whole family, and that guy is college educated just like you or more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not yelling at a blue collar worker anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Our profession has evolved.
This whole idea of somebody, this is a blue collar worker, an idiot. He's a kid. He doesn't know anything more than me. Well, most of them that get 2 years wind up getting 4 years, and then they come on the job, or they finish their bachelor's. You got a lot of college graduates out there right now.
Yeah, and it's not just the spitting in the face at the protest line. It's sitting in places like the offices of the DOI, writing that report without considering the idea that maybe we should talk to the experts in the field, if not the actual practitioners, and ask them if it's tenable. Is this something that we can?
No, that would only make sense. That is where science comes in. But they don't want to believe science if it goes against their ideology.
Right. The very term police science just upsets them. They don't believe it should be even called that.
I don't understand why the job cowers, to these politicians. Like, for example, Operation All Out, where they get the do nothing in the precinct to go out for a day and write a summons. Well, do that in 1 PP, but do that on the day where there's a protest and get all of them out, and it'll change policy overnight. Everybody.
I used to love where the chief's bucket would go out, and the bucket would say, "Look, when I walk out, call me on the phone, say there's an emergency," and they wouldn't even reach the foot post. They would call it, "Oh, bring the bucket back," and they'd be like, "Hey, I didn't even get out." I'd be like, "It's so sickening."
But you know what? Isn't it truth though? When the shit hit the fan, you had to call for the duty count in the middle of the night. And it was some schmuck from headquarters who comes out once a month.
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh no, go back in the building. We don't want this guy here."
Right? He's calling the DI to ask what to do.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, we're at 1 hour and 20 right now. I just wanted to, we got to do our Patreon plug here. These are our mugs. If you're a Patreon subscriber right now, you got a mug, hopefully. And if you didn't get it, it's on its way.
Police
and,
hold on
one second.
But this is
not only does it hold coffee, it's a great coffee mug, but for some reason, don't ask me why, it holds the vodka just fine as well.
It's microwave safe, right?
Microwave safe. And we have
Right.
3 tiers. Bill will tell you about them.
Well, we have 3 tiers. The first tier costs $7 a month, and that actually is called the bucket. You heard me use that term, the bucket. You're the one that carries the bucket around. The second tier, which costs $9 a month, is called Polish My Rack, and you can actually see a picture of my rack on the.
Hey, look, can you see my rack, Billy? Wait a minute. Can you see it?
Oh yeah, I see your rack. What do you got? A range medal? No, you got a pistol shot medal. On 2 ETGs?
A freaking rack a foot high, and it was nothing but the 1776 pistol shot, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Stacker, what you call
The
it.
third tier is the.
I think I had 1770.
Oh, go ahead. He's got to do a sales pitch. Go ahead.
Third tier is the premier tier, costs $11 a month, and that, of course, is dipped in butter. So if you want yours dipped in butter, join our Patreon. Pay $11 a month. We have some funny material. We have some great guests. And
Not only that, Bill. But right now, I think we agreed on this, that if you join up and sign on to our Patreon right now, between now and the new year, you can sign up at any tier. We'll send you a mug. So you'll get your mug, and then obviously we'll have better gifts for our dipped in butter guys. We have plans. We're making plans.
Yeah, what do I get for this? Do I get a mug?
Bill, well, you get one.
I'll send you a mug.
Joe Kane got a mug. How come Joe Kane gets a mug? I don't get a mug.
Because he's dipped in butter.
You, Mister.
He pays $11 a month. He joined up after he became a guest on.
Thanks for that, Bill, because he's never going to live that down.
You live in a suburb inside of a suburb.
There you go. Love Elk, New York, my man. I love it.
Well, thank you for being a guest with us, John, tonight.
My pleasure, really.
John
John,
Monahan,
you're great. You have to come back because you have your finger on the pulse of this job. Your finger on the pulse of this city. We'd love to have you.
And we didn't even get to tell any war stories.
No, next time we'll tell.
I'm taking this line with me. I want to help you because I'm building up a school. It's a kind of comedy school, and the COVID kind of put a dent in it. So I've been tutoring clients, but I share your enthusiasm. But my enthusiasm is towards I want to share my comedy knowledge, my 23 years of comedy knowledge with up and comers, how to get paid quicker. So doing your stand-up comedy. So that's what I'm going to be starting. But I might give you a call one of these days and pick your brain about things I should probably do before I actually launch the thing. But I'm very impressed with what you did with the school, man. That's amazing.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
The school's called The Key, in case we haven't said that.
The Key.
The Key.
Yeah.
All right. All the best to you, John. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Billy. Thanks for asking me, guys.
I don't think we're doing
whatever they say in Ireland. I don't know.
We're not doing a Christmas Eve show, are we?
No.
All right. So we'll be back. When are we coming back?
That Monday, I guess.
You got my address to mail me the mug, right, Bill?
Yeah. Oh no, you got to send text it to me.
Yeah. I was just joking.
No. All
right, I'm leaving now.
First join our $11 a month Patreon. You
Thank
had
you, John.
All right, I'll sign up. on the thing.
Okay. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. The show.
Edmund, we have a police commission. We got Eddie Hartnett. We got a mogul. We got Joe Kane. These guys can pull
the production value on the show is pretty high, because Bill posts up videos every once in a while. And
it's tough, I'm sure.
Yeah. I can even.
And Billy's driving a Honda CRV. It's tough, man.
Hold it. Look at that. Look at that. That's some pretty fancy fucking.
Hey, how come I forgot all about that? We didn't even talk about the books. Hold on a minute.
We forgot about the books.
Yeah, if you want, let's do some book covers. Let's do
some books. Come on.
The guns.
Look, do I have to hold them up, or you're gonna?
Hold on. Wait a second. Wait, Bill's got to get rid of the screen. Okay, now hold them up. Now, what do you got? You got 2 books.
No, you know what? I'll show you. Let me show you what I'm gonna do, because I believe. Who's the host, Billy or Mark?
I'm the host.
Allow me to share screen. Are you able to do that?
I don't know if I could do that.
I have a feeling like we're going.
I don't know how.
Host disabled. Just go to participants. Click on my name.
Let's see.
Right, it says more.
Oh, okay. No, it says stop live stream. I don't want to do that.
I think we should. Show the books this way.
Go ahead, John. Should I click on your name now, or more? There we go, more. Let's see. All right, participants.
Yeah, I think we should.
Participants. 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 Particip Rename allowed to record. Is that it or no?
No,
No,
that's
no.
not it at all.
Should I report you? That's what it's another thing it says.
No, all right. No, maybe you can't allow me to share screen.
No,
All right,
it's-
so yeah. Okay. Here's the first one in the Jimmy Gallagher series.
Head on.
PD Dies Hard.
What is that about?
Oh, it's a piss of a book, man. It's you know what? I'll give you a quick idea. The word Caucasian comes from where? The Caucasus, which is a part of Eastern Europe. And the people are Caucasian in appearance like you and me. And they are devout Muslims.
Oh,
And it goes into this whole thing the Russian mafia out in Brighton Beach is paying for these Chechen rebels to come and they're going to be imposters because the Arabs are paying them millions of dollars. And they walk through the checkpoint because we're racial profiling. Like, oh, these guys are all right. They're not Arabs looking to blow this thing up. And it all goes sideways. It ends up, remember the movie Die Hard? It's like Die Hard on the Queen Mary in New York Harbor at the end. It's a lot of fun. It's fast. It's a piss of a book. Everybody listen, there's guys in our circles that if the book sucked, they either wouldn't answer my calls or they would tell me, John, you know what? The book sucked, right? Honest to God, they tell me it's good. I believe them, And this is the second one in the series. Can you see that?
The Guns of Antwerp. The Guns of Antwerp.
NYPD takes Boston. Oh, it gets really good. A little bit of history there, too, about that. The IRA, the PLO were in bed together in the 70s.
uh-huh.
And, it builds off that. And then between New York and Boston, it was a stash of guns that were supposedly hidden up there. And same characters, same cast of characters. And, it's a lot of fun.
I see 2 screenplays here.
Oh, they would. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't have any connections.
Screenplays already?
You know?
You have a screenplay written already for the 2 of them?
No. I'm just writing novels.
Well,
No.
I could see 2. Listen, we'll talk.
Listen, you know what I need a connection. I had an agent 10 years ago, and she was top level. Loretta Barrett was her name, and she got the book, the first one, Head On, into the hands of a senior editor at Simon & Schuster who wanted the book. Apparently, the way it works these days, a lot of consolidation. There's only like 4 or 5 big publishers in the entire world. All these imprints you've heard of, Pocket, Bantam, they're all part of one house. There's only 4 houses in the world. Simon & Schuster, senior editor, wanted the book. The way it works now is the senior editor sits at a conference table with a bunch of other senior editors once a month and pitches the ones he likes to the publishing executives who never read the book. So I got as far as that, and the publishing executives didn't buy into it because I was an unknown. She passed away from a brain tumor, my agent, and I haven't been able to land one since. I don't know what to do. These are good books. Honest to God, they're good.
You know who just signed with Simon & Schuster? Do you know Barbara Butcher? She was the chief of the medical examiner's office. She just signed a book with Simon & Schuster.
Nice.
Tell her story.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to help each other out.
We'll have you back on the show. If we keep this show going much longer, we're going to go into 2021.
All right. Oh, yeah. You mean this episode or your podcast?
No, this episode.
All right. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about police work next time.
All right.